So as you can see, the bear struck again. It looks like it's a little more intact than the last time. I'll get those stood back up, give them a couple days and see once if there's still a queen somewhere. So I got that hive back together. All the frames were there. There's only one of them that had actually been eaten off from. So for the most part that was all intact. Stood back up. I'll have to give it a couple days and see if there's still a queen in there. I'm hoping that she was in one of the bottom boxes, and those were just tipped on their sides. So if it all held up together correctly, we should be all right. Overall, like even the frames that have gotten flipped out of the box, the bees are still on it. So it hasn't been too long ago. It might have been even last night that bear was in here. The fence is all still up and intact. So I don't know, I'll have to see once, maybe get a trap in here and try to get rid of that bear, haul it off that way. So it's been a week since the bear knocked that hive over and I put it back together. I haven't had a chance to get back into it to see once if there was a queen. So I'm gonna pop it open and find what I find. If I've got a bunch of emergency cells, I'll have to get some nuke boxes and do a split on it, and hopefully end up with a couple queens. And I haven't taken and looked at the two on the end there that I put together with frames after the bear had busted those ones up. So if I get a chance, I might pop those open quick, make sure there's still some bees in there, see once if the emergency cells are drawn out and how they're looking. That's been close to 2 weeks ago now that I put those together, so the one hive might even have a virgin queen running around in it. We'll see once if I can get to that, but I do want to get into this one. So that's what it's like with the inner cover off. They're up into that honey super. That was one that the bear cleaned the frames off, I do believe. I did add a couple of frames to that I had, because it was only 8 frames after I couldn't find the 9th one, and with nothing on them I put in back in 10. That way it'll get filled out more evenly, hopefully. But let's keep breaking it apart, see what we got. As you can see, there are eggs in the cells. This is up in the top box. I probably am not going to pull the whole thing apart. I would say I've got a laying queen in there with the number of eggs that I have in those cells. So there's really not a whole lot of other reason to check the hive. There are some swarm cells started on the bottom. I'll probably give this hive another week and check it at that point. A lot of times I'll see where they'll make those cells, and if you give them plenty of space to put the honey, they don't utilize them. So I'll probably throw another honey super on, one with drawn comb, so that way they have a spot to put the nectar. Other than that, we'll put this all back together. So there we go, another honey super on the hive. It's getting some height to it. Well, this isn't what I was hoping to find. It's a dead out. It looks like they made up some emergency cells there, and I don't know if they ran out of food. I'd given them feed and narrowed down the entrance, but there's nothing happening here. We'll check the other one, see what that one looks like. Yeah, you can see they pulled a couple of emergency cells there, but a lot of dead bees down on the bottom. I don't know if they got hit with the cold weather and froze out, or if they got robbed out, lost their food source. Both of these ones are done. So what I'll probably do is give it another week or two and then pull a strong split from that. In fact, I might go 3 ways with it. It'll depend on whether I want to take and try to push for honey production or get my number of hives up. So the 2 on the trailer, since I've got time, I'll probably pop the tops of those. I gave them both an empty middle deep 2 weeks ago. See what it's looking like and go from there. So there are bees in the middle box, mostly pollen. I don't see any brood in there yet. I'll probably pop the top on the top box. I know the queen had been laying in the top box last time I checked. I'll see once how that's looking. Put this one back together. Well, there's the queen. She's up in the top box. She's doing fine. But she hasn't expanded down. So what I think I'm going to do is take and do a rearrange on this one. Drop this back to the bottom or to the middle and put the one I added instead of in the middle up on top. Because I've only got about 4 frames. They're laid out well. And perhaps that's all the bees that are in the hive. That's all I can handle. But I'd like to get these hives going. So I decided to take the top box that had the queen on it, move her back to the middle, and take that middle box that I added the last time and put it up on top. That gives her room to continue laying in the middle and the bottom. I think that's what she had been doing prior to the move I made with it. And they can put honey flow up in the top box and they'll have plenty of room. So, last hive. Pulled the top box off. This is the middle box that I added 2 weeks ago to this hive. I actually haven't pulled the frame to know what's going on here. Okay, these are the frames that the bear all tore apart. It'll take some work for them to get those back into use. So I might do in this hive like I did in the last one and switch them around, put the top box back down. Now once the bees are using these frames, know they're there, put them up on top. They'll be available for nectar flow. And if the queen wants to expand up into this to lay, she has that option as well. I'll look at a couple more frames, probably make that swap, and check in once the work is done. Yep, so I did the same thing on this side as I did on the last one. I took the top box, moved it down to the middle. So that's 2 frame that were together, and the top one is the box that I added. It gives the queen the ability to use the 2 boxes she was using to keep the brood production up. So with that, as long as the bear stays away, I'll take and probably give it 2 weeks before I mess around with the bees again. And at that point, I'll probably pull 2 3-frame splits out of that hive. That way I can try to get a couple more queens to replace the hives I lost from the bear. And the 2 hives here should have plenty of space with the top box being pretty much empty to take and get onto the nectar flow here. We are still a little early, the dandelions are in bloom, but overall there's not a whole lot else blooming, but everything's coming on. Won't be too long and the trefoil and the clover will come on, and that's usually the big nectar flow here. I might move that hive onto the trailer when I do the splits, because the bear hasn't messed with the hives that are on the trailer. And that gives me the option of always moving them around to areas. Once we cut the hay fields here, I can move them to areas that we haven't cut fields. Because although we have a lot of acreage of field, once we take the hay off, there's not a whole lot left blooming. And nectar flow and honey production drops right off. So with that, I'll wrap up this video. You can help me out by hitting a like and subscribe, leaving a positive comment down below. And until next time,